Episode of Priorities on Purpose. It's your girl, Melissa here. And listen, today you're getting another behind the scenes look through a training that I did for direct sellers inside of a boot camp a couple years ago. I know it's from 2021, and there's a reason why I'm sharing this. Before the Breakthrough Challenge ever came to be, there was a boot camp that I did for direct sellers. And it's when I first started talking about circling the wagon and preparing for resistance, slowing down, paying attention. That's what this episode is all about. And if you hang with me, I promise you there's so much value here.
Hey there, I'm Melissa Batt, the host of Priorities on Purpose, a podcast for overwhelmed direct sellers who want to grow their income, audience, and influence without sacrificing their mental health and main priorities. Whether you're just starting a new adventure or you're 15 years in and have already climbed the ranks, I want to help you have the life and the business of your dreams. Can you see it? Can you feel it? Or maybe you thought you had it and something changed. Whether you have your entire dream mapped out or have completely given up on all the possibilities, I'm here to remind you that God is bigger than the little box we put him in. This side gig is part of his plan. It's not your sole purpose, but it absolutely has purpose. As a Christian life and business coach, I'm here to help you get out of your head and live with intention so you can enjoy what matters most without the guilt. More time to do what you love, more peace, more impact, more money, and opportunities to give to those you want to help. I promise to be your hype girl, business bestie, and biggest cheerleader as I share proven and simple strategies that will be sure to help you live a fulfilled life with a strong, sustainable business. Are you ready to stop chasing all the shiny things and get laser focused? Put your earbuds in while you're cooking dinner or folding out laundry, and let's get to it, friend. This is one time when multitasking is actually going to be beneficial. Expect that resistance is going to come, because this is life. This is the real world. We are not living in a fantasy land. It means it's going to happen, right? Every single one of us have life going on. And when we're trying to separate business and life and family and marriage and our finances and our health, like, it's great. But if we can really recognize that things happen and prepare ahead of time, be on the offense instead of the defense, we're going to be so much better off. And I know part of day two was all about like figuring out how to automate and just do some things so that when life happens, you can kind of go on autopilot for a little bit, right? So here is what I want you to know. 1 Peter 5 verses 8 basically says, when you're doing really, really good, Satan is not like that, and he is coming for you. He wants to devour you. I'm pretty sure that's the verse. So I want you to know right off the bat, like, if you are doing good and you feel like part of what you're doing is to live out your calling, just know the enemy's going to be all over that because he doesn't want that to happen. And so it doesn't mean you don't do it. It just means you be prepared for it. This year, me personally, I knew that what I was about to do in my own personal life was big. I have a big dream, and it involves talking about some childhood trauma. And I know that it's something God wants me to speak on because he wants to use my story to help other women become free, because it really is something that I think we kind of become enslaved to. And yeah, the vision I have really has been just like shackles coming, like dropping to the ground when these women really hear the story. It's okay. Like, we all have a story. And so in that, I knew that me talking about it is bigger than me. It is so much bigger than me. It's bigger than my community. I mean, it's so big. And in that, I knew that it meant that I needed to suit up and I needed to prepare for war. And when you go into war, I mean, I haven't ever been to war, but you don't go in blindly, right? Like, you kind of have a plan and you prepare. And some of these things I want to talk to you guys about are some things that you can do in your business and in your family and in your marriage and just your personal life to be prepared. The message that God gave me really, and it's written on my mirror in my bedroom. It says, circle the wagon. And that for me really is like, let's look around. Let's look, where are the cracks in the foundation? Where are the gaping holes that could be hit? And let's prepare. Let's pay attention and stop going through the motions and just letting it happen. Because so many times that's what we're doing. We're just letting life happen to us instead of kind of being in the driver's seat and kind of steering it in a certain direction. Okay. I want to help you stop putting out fires. That right there, like seriously, is just my heart for you guys that go through this boot camp, and a message that I want you to really take it seriously, because so many times, like, and if you haven't yet heard this part of the message from the boot camp, it's not just a side gig. It's not just this little thing that you're doing. If that's what you want, that's fine. But I'm guessing because you're investing your time, your energy, your finances in this, that it's more than that for you. It's an additional stream of income, which everyone should have multiple streams of income. And so instead of looking at it as side gig or a side hustle or, this little thing that you do, it's an additional stream of income. And whether you use this to live out your calling or it's just a vehicle to help you do that, I would love for you to consider adding that in if you know what your purpose is. And if you don't, we've already kind of been through that part. So here's what I want you to know. When you know it's coming, you can be prepared. And spoiler alert, it's coming. Whether it's today, it's tomorrow, it's next year, it's 6 months from now, it's coming, right? We can all agree it's coming. So the year of putting out fires daily, I want those things to be over for you. And instead, I want you to be proactive and remove the debris and the spark stuff that could light up on fire before it has the potential to catch on fire. Okay? Is that a good enough analogy? I hope it is. Okay. So we're no longer going to live our life on the defense and reacting to what comes our way. Instead, we're going to bulldoze through the hard and prepare for the hits. So the hits will come. Let's prepare. All right. So circle your wagon. I know you guys came for business, but now we're going to get into the real nitty gritty. Like, are you taking care of your home? Are you taking care of your health? Are you taking care of your relationships? Are you taking care of your finances? And when I start talking about circle the wagon and prepare and looking for the cracks, you could have come up with something totally different and not one of these categories. We're going to focus on these categories, but I want you to know that if there's a crack and you recognize it, write it down. It doesn't have to be one of these 4 categories, okay? But the goal is look for the gaps, look for the kinks, the knots in the rope or whatever that need to be worked out. Take some time to write those down and reflect on what needs to be done so that you can be as prepared as possible. Remember, yes, in the perfect world, everything would be separate and it wouldn't affect the other, but that's not life. Like, it's all intermingled. And if we know it is, let's start creating a plan to allow for that. Okay. So here are some examples for you. And for the record, I can relate to every single one of these. And so I was like, I've done all these. Okay. So your house is chaos. You can't find anything. Okay. Your money is coming in and going out without you even knowing where it goes. You're always arguing with your spouse or arguing with your kids. You're avoiding going to the doctor for a checkup because you don't have time or because you don't want to face that there could be an issue. All of those things, like if you, and as women, like, listen, I'm preaching to myself right now. Like, I put off going to the doctor because I don't want to take the time to go to the doctor. But that is true self-care. What is the point in you living out your dreams and doing what you feel God calling you to do if you're not even going to be around to see the fruits from it, right? So we want to make sure that we are being intentional and taking care of all of the areas that God has entrusted us with, right? Here are some examples. And again, these things are not going to become perfect overnight. The first step is to acknowledge it. That's what I always say. Second step is to look for the opportunity to move forward and make a positive impact in those areas. So, are you ready? Chaotic house. I know this is rocket science, but if you could take a weekend and organize or declutter or have everyone, pay someone to come, like whatever you have to do. And I am not a minimalist at all, but I have felt this like pull to get rid of stuff ever since like I moved to Kentucky and I went through the funk. I realized like all of this stuff that was in our house was like really stressing me out because then I had to figure out where it needed to go and take it there. And the kids weren't paying attention. Then I had laundry, like so much laundry. And so I've really just been on this mission to declutter, purge. If it's not being used, it doesn't need to be in the house. If it doesn't have a home, why doesn't it have a home and can it leave? Just because you've been holding on to those pictures that you spent, I'm totally speaking to myself for the record. Just because you bought those pictures 10 years ago and they were super expensive and you haven't hung them on the walls for 5 years through 3 different moves, it doesn't mean you still need to keep them. You can let them go. Same thing with the jewelry that is from, 2005 and this is 2020. If you're not wearing it anymore, it doesn't matter how much it costs. It can be donated. Donate it to someone that will appreciate it because there is no sense in you holding on to it. Literally, I have a gigantic mess of like tangled necklaces and it's been sitting on my dresser in a basket since May. And I keep thinking I'm going to take the time to do it. And I'm like, for the love, just throw them out because they always get tangled. And I am not going to be the one who's like, uses the saran wrap, puts it in the straw. I would love to say I'm going to do that, but I'm probably not. Therefore, I'm like, one of them is a Tiffany chain. I will cut some of the other chains to get the Tiffany chain loose. But seriously, like get rid of it. Socks. We have so many socks. Like I started mating socks and I was like, you know what? We don't need this many socks. And when I have less laundry to do, that means I have less laundry to do. And so look at some of those areas that you can do and just start with one room. I could recommend a ton of books if you feel like this is an area that you want to improve on. Pep talk in my ear is what I have said it feels like. And I listen to it as I'm purging and I'm telling you it's the best feeling ever. If you're feeling overwhelmed, definitely in your home or your office or wherever, look around at your space. If it's not bringing you peace, let's figure out how we can move forward with that. I know some people's situations are a little bit differently. Maybe you live with a family member and they have hoarder-like tendencies or something like that. And so do the best that you can do and feel free to reach out to me if you're like, yeah, Melissa, like this isn't going to work for me. I would love to. Message me. I'll see if I can give you some better tips. Money issues. Again, take a weekend and look at the budget and start paying attention to what comes in and what goes out. It's not going to be perfect overnight. It takes getting clear, acknowledging that there's a problem, and then trying to come up with some solutions to fix it. It doesn't mean it's going to happen overnight. More than likely, it's not going to happen overnight. I know for myself, we have, oh my gosh, our finances had been a huge mess. Where did all of our money go? And it's because we had gotten so busy. And, this is when you look at your life and if you're too busy to figure out your checking account, you're too busy to go to the doctor, you're too busy to do this, that, or another, like probably time to slow down. You should get in the book club. I'm doing Rhythms of Renewal because it's all about slowing down and resetting. But I find that was one of the things I felt like God kind of convicted me on, like when I'm like, I'm putting off things, like, why am I putting it off? And are those other things more important than my finances? No. A lot of the time it was just, us, we were caught up in volunteering at church. Like we were doing good things, but sometimes good things can prevent you from doing the God things that he wants you to do. And so be very, very careful and mindful of that. Arguing with your spouse, spend time on a date, communicate. Again, that's something I'm like, we're too busy. You're too busy to have a conversation with your spouse. Like, that should be a priority, right? So we all agree. And obviously schedules change and, it doesn't always work out. I have 4 kids. I get it. You do the best that you can do, but you definitely need to be intentional, because if you're not intentional, it's never going to happen. And if you want a long, healthy marriage, you got to have to put some time into it, and it takes a little bit of work. And it definitely takes being intentional. Health concerns, make the dang appointment. Just make the appointment and go. Like, stop putting it off. If you have health concerns, like, priority, tomorrow, you need to call the doctor and you need to make that appointment. Stop putting it off, because what's the point in having a business if you're going to be too sick to work and not be able to even take care of yourself? So if you need to go to the doctor, you've been feeling led to go to the doctor, call the doctor, make the appointment, get in, instead of stressing about it, worrying about it, and thinking about it and putting it off till tomorrow. Okay. Those are just some simple ways that I feel like you can circle the wagon. And I have this analogy for you that I know I've talked about a couple times. If you have a leaky faucet, that's what I said first. And I was like, okay, apparently it's a leaky pipe. Clearly, I'm not a plumber. But if you have a leaky pipe or a leaky toilet, right? And it just continues to leak and it leaks and it leaks and no one pays attention to it. Everyone ignores it and just lets it go. What happens? You have a gigantic problem in your home, and it's going to cost you a ton more time. It's going to cost you a ton more money, and it's going to be a huge distraction. Okay. Like, it can seriously ruin the foundation of your home. And so looking in those 4 areas specifically, that's where you will find some serious foundation problems. There's obviously some other areas that might have came up for you when you think about it, but those are the ones I'm like, if nothing else, definitely look at those. Okay. So I have found that all the above situations are caused because we're so busy doing or avoiding that they slip through the cracks. Ask what is out of rhythm or out of sync, and how do you get things to flow more peacefully? Because peace that's the point. That's where we're going, right? We want to pursue peace. Peace before the paycheck, and the paycheck will be it will come, but we want to pursue peace. So at the end of the day, ask yourself these questions. And again, remember, baby steps, progress over perfection. You're never going to snap your fingers and have it all perfect. We're doing the best that we can do with where we are in this moment today. All right. So at the end of the day, ask yourself these questions. Did I love well? Did I lead well? Did I live well? Rate the day. Know that perfection isn't going to happen, but the goal is to see improvement. So forward motion is moving forward, even if it's the tiniest little baby step. Okay. So that's the part about circling the wagon I wanted to talk about, and just preparing as much as possible to protect yourself from the hits that could come. Okay. So if you have good communication with your spouse and then something gets out of whack, you're going to be in a better situation than if you weren't communicating and you're already annoyed at him and it's already you're, going at it like this instead of being on the same team. Because remember, you're on the same team. If you haven't read the book Fervent, that book was, for my marriage, so good. Actually, all of my relationships, Fervent was amazing. In fact, I've read it twice. Hey friend, that's it for this episode. If you found value, I would love it if you could take a couple of seconds and leave me a quick review. While it may seem super simple, it is so beneficial and gives me the opportunity to help more women. Also, take a screenshot and share it on social media with your biggest aha today. Don't forget to tag me at Melissa Bad Official so we can connect. Thank you so much for listening. And until next time, friend, keep walking it out one baby step at a time, because God's got you.